Well, heidi ho, and welcome to Apple Bites, as we take a bite out of things and share it with you and let you know how it tastes.
Yum, yum.
And of course, we have Jabs and Russ. I,
Hello.
I like the little nicknames.
That's my actual name, not a nickname.
I don't know. Do they call you Russell? Do they call you Russ?
Oh, Russ, usually.
Eh,
I go by either. Okay, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you.
I'm in the same place with you because my name is Raphael, but they call me Ralph. They call me Rafe. They call me Rufus. They call me a lot of things.
Okay, all right.
As long as they're all good things.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not. Of course, we got Shen here saying hi. Hey guys, hey Glitch, good to see you again.
Hello.
And Shen was the one that did the interview with you the first time.
Oh, yes. That was lovely. What a good time.
Oh man, so it's great to have both of you on. It's been a fun, interesting January, trying to get ready for all the plethora of good things that are coming up. I've already done 2 conventions in January, which already
Wow.
kind of showcases, I feel like, the year we're gonna have.
Amazing. I love
Oh,
that. Going in strong for the new year.
Yeah.
definitely.
But
So you were gonna say something, Russ?
no, I was gonna say I didn't even know there were shows going on prior
I,
to.
I had the same thought. I was like, oh God, I'm so embarrassed to say. I'm glad you said it first.
Dude, let me see. We what was it? Garden State Comic Fest actually did the Winterfest show. That was this weekend. We just went there, and the other show was Cosmic Con, which was last weekend, and I was surprised. And then already well, you know this, Russ. On Saturday
Mhm.
we have the Indie Art Show where
Yeah.
you're going to be.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, it should
I
be
got to
fun.
get your guys' lists.
Well, if you want, I'll give you the list. There's so many that are out there, and I'm only going to be able to hit some of them.
Right.
True, true.
What's your first convention jobs then?
The first one I've ever done. Well, I don't know if you can really count this. I did like a few other markets. Like there, like I did starting out, I didn't really know where to go. Like
Hmm.
I even now, like you mentioning all these shows, I'm like, oh my God, there's so many. It's so cool. Like I love everybody making these spaces for all types of creators. Like it's really cool to know that there's so many out there that we could go to.
Yeah.
But when I started out, like I was it was me and a friend of mine. I know you all know some of this backstory, but I'll just tell it really quickly. It was my friend, really near and dear friend of mine, Jam, who lives out in the UK. We started it together, and he has since moved on to his own projects and has, I'm now single mom with GltchBtch, which I'm totally cool with because I rock at it, or I do my best at it. I like to think I rock at it.
It looks
But
good, so I have to agree.
thank you, thank you. I mean, he's still proud, like he supports from afar. And we like going into it, we didn't know, like I even the first places I was getting my pins like manufactured at, like I didn't know what was up. I was just looking online. I didn't know anybody. So like I've since switched who makes my pins. I obviously design everything, but there was just so much to learn. And a lot of what I learned was going to these shows, meeting sick people like you, Russ, and people out there who have like been in the game who are like, oh, yeah, I'm so happy to share like who I get my pins made from, my backer cards, my this, my that, whatever it is. The first couple shows I did were just like what was popping up for me like nearby in the New York City area. So I did like Artisan Fleas and like shows like that happened pretty often,
Right.
but weren't like, they were cool and I love them, but it's a much broader audience. It's an audience that kind of goes for more like clothing, vintage, like home item, like ceramics, things like that, jewelry, like earrings and such. All very cool stuff. But I was still looking and like really wanting to find that niche audience that was like all of us, that we just like understand like the art of it all, the design of it all, the like kind of like the weird coolness of it all, and I the first one I think I really did where I was like, yes, finally I found it, was Patches and Pins, which was the first one they ever did in New York. And it was just like, I felt like it was just such a different vibe. Like at Artisan Fleas, like people would come by and be like, oh, okay, like cool. Like they kind of had this, like, this is weird. And they'd kind of laugh at my name and be like, wow, like how ballsy, I guess. And then maybe they'd get something, but it just wasn't like, it was kind of like they'd look and move on. And then at Patches and Pins, I felt like I really had that audience that was like, wow, like I get this is cool. Like they wanted to talk to me about it, like what was my inspiration, blah blah blah. And I was just I was surprised they were even cared, you know, to that degree. So then I started again meeting all these people, learning about where to do what and like what other cool conventions there were. So that was my first. And then I started to like trickle out and like grab the ones that like I started to do really well at. Yeah, and it started to go from there. It just expanded.
So I know you did Pins and Patches, which is a great one, and that's actually showcases you guys very well. And so the other ones you've done, where do you seem to do better? Is it because I know yours cross pop culture all, and they have swords and they have stuff, so I feel like you have a broader place to sell your things.
Yeah, it's so I do really well at Patches and Pins, obviously, given the nature that a lot of my products are that. And that's all they were for a time, and then it branched into stickers. I've been trying to get into more like clothing and such, so I'm wearing one of my patterned shirts, which is my branding. I spent a lot of time on my branding and I really enjoy it. So it's a lot of stuff that I like enjoy seeing and wearing. So I have this hat too, my little bitchin' hat. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, I can see it. Hold on, let me put it up so you can show it off.
Yay!
There it goes.
There. Ooh, ah.
It looks good.
Yeah, I started to take all these different facets of my brand and like expand it out. I'm just seeing what people would take and what they would like. So since doing that, I definitely see how some areas I do a little better than others. Like I've done Renegade Craft, which Renegade Craft is kind of just like a big Artisan Fleas.
Mm-hmm.
Again, in those spaces, it's really hit or miss with people. With the clothing, I've definitely I've been able to sell more and do better in that space because, hats, shirts, stuff like that, they get. The pins and stuff, I'll have people walk by very often because I'll have like my little foam pin board that has them on there so people can like see them. And a lot of the time people will walk by and be like, are these magnets? And they'll like touch them and be all like confused. Like, no, pins. And they're like, what? Like, I'm like, oh, I don't know how else to explain this to you. But yeah, it's really interesting. So again, very hit or miss, but I like to kind of dip my toes into all these different spaces just to see. And for me, I'm like, as long as I make back the booth, I meet cool people, I kind of like expand the audience, that's fine with me. Spaces I do really well in, obviously Patches and Pins, 5 Points Fest, Brooklyn Comic-Con. I've been trying to get out to FlameCon for a while, but they're always booked up so fast, but would love
they get booked up really quick.
So quick. And I'm so happy for them. Like, yay, queer spaces. But I'm like, I'm queer. Like, I want to join. So again, I think it's like all these spaces where we have people who are gamers, people who are comic book lovers, people who are artists, designers, people who are queer, people who I think it's like all these, it's the world of all these people who love the culture of like what we sort of create towards. And I do love pop culture things, but I do try to make everything I make, even if it's like a reference or a nod towards something, I like to make it as original as possible. And I love brands who like take their favorite thing and like recreate it, or take their favorite thing and like do something with it. I try my best to take something that's just in my brain and like make it a little bit different, or just kind of make it just derpy enough where it feels like I'm owning it. Like I have a pin that's just a burger. It's just a burger with a derpy face. And like, that's simply all it is. And then I have pins that are a little bit more conceptual, I guess. Like they have a little bit more going on. They're a little bit more layered. I'm actually coming out of a couple new pins that are like type-based. A lot of my stuff is very illustrative. And I've been missing sort of like the simplicity of like some graphic approaches, which is why I started bringing like my own branding. Oh, there they are. Which is why I started bringing my own branding in like merch and shirts and stuff like that. Because I'm like, you know what? Maybe it doesn't have to be so literally a certain object or thing. But yeah, I've been having a lot of fun going into more type and graphics. I have a couple pins coming out that are type based. That are in the works right now, which I'm excited by. And then I have this one crazy pin that I'm super excited about that is also in the works that I've talked to. I work with True Metal Works, which I will always shout out. They do all my pins. I love them so much. They're such a great team, and the quality is just so on point with them. And I'm actually meeting up with this great designer they have on staff named John Faso. I hope I'm saying that right. Oh man, he's gonna kill me because I feel like I'm saying that wrong. Anyway, he's dope. Faso, I don't know. He's dope. I'm bad at names.
I don't think he was expecting me to throw him in.
Oh shit. I like it. I like that.
That's a way of making interest in that.
Yeah, that's the way to come on in. But we're making this crazy pin, which I've made an illustration for. The illustration I did for it was called Booby Trap. A lot of my pins are also pun related because like I love puns. And,
I love puns.
Puns are great. I love them so much. I'm not a copywriter, but I very easily fall into puns, and I'm the audience for it. Like, give me a pun, I will laugh. I love it. So a lot of my pins are based on puns. So this booby trap pin is going to be a bear trap with a boob in the center of it, and it's gonna be my first latched pin. So it's going to function like a booby trap. So it's going to like open and close with the boob in the center. And it's going to have a like a little spike component that's chained off. So it's going to be just like really intense, wild pin. And I brought the idea to them and they were kind of like, whoa, yes, but like this is gonna like we're gonna figure this out. And so I'm working with them now to make that happen. They have my design. I'm very excited. And if it comes out the way that I'm envisioning, I think it'll be a very cool, wild looking pin that I've seen like latch pins and chain pins and all of that, right. But I don't think it'll be like a fun sort of different take on that like realm of pins. And I don't have anything that complex. Like I think the most complex thing I have is pins that go together, like my ghost pins right on screen. They're just two separate pins you can buy together. Like, you know, that's cool. And I love all the different pins I have. And I have some pins that have like drilled holes in them, but this is definitely the most complex pin because it will have like extruding metal. It's latched, it's chained, it's got all your favorite BDSM moves, if I'm allowed to say.
Shen says, I'll buy that in a heartbeat.
Hey. Woo. Yeah, so there's that. And then a couple of type pins. I don't even know where I started off. I kind of went on a tangent.
Well, actually, no, you did a good job at explaining exactly what you have.
Yeah, and then I got a couple others. I got some type pins that are like two-parters that will be sold together. So I have I've always enjoyed Lorem Ipsum as like as a phrase, and most designers know that it's filler copy for when you don't have anything yet. And I've always found it very like profound and interesting because I think it's just like a cool phrase. And the filler copy is just, I'm so used to seeing it that I really enjoy it. And I think it also gives me ease because sometimes I like having it in place even before I've come to an idea. And I know that a lot of artists have their artist block. They don't know how to move on into a space like before knowing what the full idea is. So Lorem Ipsum has always been like sort of like a safety net. So I just kind of like it as this phrase for anybody who's a designer who'd see it, who would just be like, ah, yes, like my safety placeholder. Like at least that's how I feel about it. And then I have an anticipation pin coming out, which are the two phrases separated, which is very much a reference to Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Nice.
When they say anticipation. And it'll be a two-parter pin that both of these type pin sets, I love the idea of people being able to wear them on their lapel or like maybe even on their cuffs, like whatever way. I like them as this sort of like type unit, but in separate pieces. So those guys are coming out, and yeah, and then I for now that's kind of where I stand because money. These things are obviously not cheap. So hey, everybody out there, buy my pins so I can make more.
in order for you to get creative, you gotta sell. In order for you to sell, you gotta get creative. It's a whole circle.
It's the classic. You got to spend money to make money. And
Exactly.
that's what credit cards are for, right? It's how they get you.
Yeah.
But I love what you did, because I started putting my pins in my collars after you told me. I was like, hey.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. It's a nice way to, like, I think, bring the pin game into sort of a, maybe like a classier joint. I've worn them. Like when I told you about that with the pen blades, I've worn that to a wedding before. I've had people buy my pride brushes, which I never really intended for them to be worn like this, just because they're a little bigger, but they wore it on their wedding day. It was a queer wedding, and one of the individuals wore it on their lapels, like with their suit, like they got like married with it on. And I was like, this is wild. Like, like that's just a crazy thing to think that somebody wore that on like such a special day. It's just cool. It's like, not the thing you'd think, like you think people are spending money on like jewelry and all this other stuff, but these cute little dinky pins, like, hell yeah. More power to you. I love it.
That's why I was surprised when you said people were looking at your pins going, what are those, magnets? I'm like, what? Because in my world, pins are like really important. And I know people who aren't geeks like us, and they still do pins. So that's really surprised me.
Yeah. It shows the go, people are, everybody's in different spaces. Like, we surround ourselves by the same thing, and it's so ingrained in our brains.
Yeah.
And there's things in other spaces that I'd look at and be like, what is that? Maybe somebody would laugh at me for the same thing.
I agree.
I've actually heard the, are they magnets? I guess it's just a common thing you just hear. Are they magnets, or what are they? Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
It's really interesting.
I know, Russ, you have all these plethora of pins, with your paw print and all the stuff that you do, because you touch the geeks, you touch the animal lovers, you touch the fantasy lovers, you really go all over the place. How did that all start? Because for me, it's like, okay, this is what he has, but I feel like you went through a process there.
Well, so the paw pins in particular. So that was, well, it's a few things. It's like my wife and I, like we kind of collaborated with that. But like I've always wanted to have like a line of something that I can make like original little characters, and I wanted to be able to like do something, design something, and kind of try to help animals at the same time, like kind of combine the two worlds. So it kind of all came together eventually in like that kind of idea, like, oh, I can do, each animal could be its own little character, they can live in their own little world, we can release them, sell them, and then donate a portion, and it kind of covers all bases. So it was kind of cool. As far as the other pins and stuff, like the Game of Tunes stuff, that was like I had the designs for the bloops like a while back with stickers and magnets that I did. And it just was kind of like a natural. I went to like Patches and Pins. I saw people doing all these type of things. I'm like, this would translate right over. I mean, the files are already there. I just gotta, get the colors in there, and they're good to go. So, and I kind of went, and that was a thing, because I originally did like an enamel coated one, so it was like a bubble enamel over it. So it was like a print with like a enamel coating on it.
Right.
And they're all right, but I was like, I could just, I saw like the soft enamel at a show. I was like, ooh, this would work really well with them. So I tried it out, made them a little bigger, and it kind of just took off from there. So
I gotta say, both of you have done this evolution of the pin, and that's what I've heard here. And I was like, okay, so this is where I started, and this is where I'm going, and then we're gonna go over there. I can see that you guys actually love your pins, and you're trying to figure out how to evolve, how to get to the next level, the next step, that really shows, that because people want that passion. People want you buy a pin. Sometimes you go to a place that has pins. It's like, look, I got pins, but you don't feel that love with their pins because it's just stuff they're doing.
A lot of people too, they'll buy like bulk pins and just sell them, so they don't really care. They're just like, oh, give me like like 100 pins, 500 pins. They just put them all random, so they're not going to really care. Like with us, it's like stuff that we designed, put hard work into, so we're going to be behind those a little bit more.
Yeah. And people, I think one of my favorite parts about being in this space has been chatting with people who are passionate, like chatting with people who, like, you could tell they care. You can tell they're passionate about their designs, what they're making, where they go next, and sharing that. I've definitely met people that have been more guarded or just more like they I don't know, they have this energy of like maybe not too cool, but they just don't seem to want to talk as much or want to share as much. And I've never really understood that because I think this space is just so wonderful for creators like us and like geeks like us. Like it's like, why wouldn't we share and open up and help us all like get to the next bigger, better thing? Like I've talked to people in the space who do toys and things that I've never done before that I'd actually love to try and do one at one point. And the people I've talked to have been like, oh yeah, why? Like, of course, whenever you're ready, like, let's chat about it. And I'm like, yeah, like that's what's so wonderful about it. And people have come to me like, hey, I want to get into pins. Like, where do I start? I'm like, okay, here's where you don't start because I've made that mistake. And I'm happy to be like, skip these steps and go over here. And like take that knowledge of where I started as like a rookie and just try to get them more to like the middle ground of it all. But some people will be, they'll be a little more guarded. They like won't want to share that information. But that's what's fun about our space because I think most people are really open to sharing.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Russ.
I'm sorry. I've talked to some people like because you'll get that where people will ask like, oh, do you mind if would you be open to telling me where you get pins made or where you get your backing card or how you, and like I've had on multiple occasions where they would ask and I'm like, oh yeah, and they're like, yeah, like I've asked a few people and they won't tell it. They're just like, no, and I'm like, all right.
Yeah,
I'll tell you everything.
Yeah, I'm like, it's not like some secret recipe. Like, I'd understand if it's, you had this like family thing, whatever, but this isn't your mama's like pasta that nobody's allowed to know about. Like they'll figure it out eventually from the internet.
Yeah, they'll get the information and they're not copying our designs. They're doing their own thing. Who cares?
Yeah. Yeah, no, there are a lot of people out there that do but they wouldn't come up and ask you. Like people who are trying to copy, like they'll just do it, which I don't condone. Not cool. Yeah.
Yeah, if they're trying to copy, they're going to copy you. It doesn't matter what you tell.
Yeah, it's all on the internet. I've had people. I remember taking a photo once of somebody's display because that's also something that from shows has been very cool to see because every time I go to a show, I'm seeing a new thing. Like I'm seeing like, oh, that's cool how they display their prints. That's cool how they do that. Even to the point where I've seen, behind the table how they just like store their pins for quick, like those little drawers that everybody has, the little like tool drawer. Like I got one of those because I'd see people doing that and like my dumb ass would be like scrambling through my like suitcase. And,
I can find it.
Yeah, I'm like, hold on. And I have everything out, but when I needed to like repackage, there's a whole thing. Like there's this whole like world of it that, is not the super exciting stuff because, people don't care about like that sort of BTS. But for us, it's exciting because it's like, how do we move better? How do we move faster? How do we store and travel better? And then how do we make it look cooler in the space? So I took a photo of this one, these girls, they had like prints and a bunch of other stuff. And they just had like a really nice display. So I just took a photo of like the whole display. This girl popped up and like started trying to cover everything. Like she was like, no, and like tried to, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And she was like, no photos, like delete that. And I was like, whoa, my bad. And I showed her my phone, I deleted it. I was like, I'm so sorry. And then I felt very embarrassed. And I walked off and I was just like, wow, what a like wild overreaction. I'm like, don't you have a website and like an Instagram where you're like posting these videos? Like, you know what I mean? Like, just go to your Instagram and see your story of your whole thing. It was just so interesting to me. And again, I get it. I think we live in a world where, now there's like AI art and everybody's up and arms. What's that?
They're all up in arms. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody's up in arms. And, that's a whole other conversation that we do not have to get into. But, I understand plagiarism and safeguarding and like doing your best. But I think there's also a world where we just share and we make everybody better. And that's how I became a better creator and vendor and everything. Like it was just from people sharing and letting me in their space and like letting me experience and learn.
So you guys bring up something important here. If you guys were to give advice to somebody who wants to start off with pins, because it's an interesting field, and it grows and grows and grows more. I remember when I first saw pins become popular, because I was going to Disney World, and they started their whole collect your pins things, and it was a lot of fun. And then I started to see it everywhere else, and I was like, oh, okay, other people are doing this. So what's your advice to somebody starting out? Either one of
Russ,
you
go
first.
Yeah, Russ. I feel like
Russ.
I've been talking a lot, so Russ.
Yeah, give me the tough one. All right.
That's I want to see what you're gonna say.
Well, I mean, I really don't know. I mean, well, first off, just, it's not as tough as it seems. I mean, anything that you can imagine can be a pin, and I mean, even if you don't have design experience or illustrate, I mean, you got plenty of people that will help you. I personally have designed pins for people. I mean, Ralph, you saw my post recently. I just did some stuff.
Oh, with Shadowmare, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, there are people out there that can help you. So don't 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 be scared of it. It's it is a learning curve a little bit. I mean, I was there in the beginning too, and I don't know everything. Trust me, but I've had a couple decent screw ups. But just that's how you you get better and you learn. You screw up and you learn and you don't do it again. So, but yeah, like anything could be a pin. Just kind of, you want to do it, just do it. Come talk to. You can talk to me if you ever see me on a show. I will give you all the information of places I use and how I go about doing it.
Yeah, 100%. I second all that. I think the just doing it, I think a lot of people, and this happens to me all the time, even when starting a new design. Sometimes I get in my head about starting, but I had a teacher in college tell me once, and I'll never forget, like, just start by starting. You just do. And once you get something out there, either if you just want to doodle or sketch in your sketchbook, like whatever you want to do, just get it on paper. And if you're feel strongly enough about it, like any of the places that we use for you to go and get your pins made, like they'll make it for you. And a lot of them have these minimums that aren't that bad either. So if you just want to try something, like depending on the place you go to, you can get a minimum amount and just see how it does. Like you could even just give it to friends, like see how they like it, see how they rep it. I think it's definitely one of those things. Like when I started out, I had no patches, no stickers. It was like, I think my friend and I had, I want to say like maybe like 8 pins, something like that. Forgetting now, but which was like a pretty good start. Like obviously there was 2 of us, so like it was a good start. Like I think people started. You could start out with less, but we just tried it. I went to the spaces that like I knew people who would let me just put up. It wasn't even markets. It was like they would just let me put up a booth. I go to a lot of these queer parties, and I DJ a lot of these queer parties for Hot Rabbit NYC, which I highly recommend for the queers out there who are looking to party. There are a lot of great parties. But I knew the owner, and she's awesome. And I was like, hey, can I just like set up a table and like see what's up? And that was kind of my first thing, like just making a couple things, thinking they were cool, putting them out on a table. And it wasn't even like a booth. It was like a table with like no cover and like one banner I got on Vistaprint with like my name on it. And my pins were just like on the table, like flat on the table. I didn't even, I think I then got like an acrylic, like little like stand thing, but even then it was like nothing. And that was it. And people were like into it. And I was like, okay, this is enough. I've always said with my thing, like if it's enough for people buy and like, it's enough to just keep it self-sufficient, like great. Right. I'll keep going until like people are like, you know what, I'm not interested anymore. But there's always somebody out there. I think there's something for everybody,
I agree with you. It's the same thing when we're telling people, because they was, how do you start off with a YouTube channel or a podcast? Or I'm like, just do your first episode. Once you do your first episode, you're going to know exactly what you're going to do. You may not know it exactly, or you may not be a pro at it, but that'll start you off. And from there, you'll start adjusting and adjusting and adjusting, because you need that first experience in order to know which direction you're going.
Yeah. And to Russ's point earlier, like you're going to make mistakes. and you just learn from them and you do better. Like I've changed the places I've made things. I've made bigger booths. I've changed what I use at them. I've changed my method of like how I sketch and design and whatever. Like you just keep growing. I was having this conversation with a designer, a friend of mine the other day, but I don't think there's a designer out there. I mean, okay, look, let's test this out here. I think that if you ask any designer or artist out there, they will always say they would do something different, like about even their project that they finished like last week.
Yeah.
Like even when they're like, okay, I'm good to go. I've finalized this. I'm shipping it off, printing it, producing it, whatever it is. Like a week later, they will be like,
I should have done this. I should have done that.
I should have done this. I should have okay, maybe that color was cool, but maybe I should have done a different color. Like always. And we're always, which is great. Like, I think that's what's so beautiful about all of us. Like, it's not a bad thing. Like, I think it's good to be that way because we are constantly just trying to be better and do better.
Exactly.
Like, we're trying to be the better versions of ourselves. And it's just like ever changing.
I completely agree with you.
Okay, I was gonna say, like, do we agree?
Oh yeah, I completely agree with you. And I think the only time that messes you up is if you let your stuff get stuck.
Yes.
One of the things that we tell new writers is, at one point or another, you need to stop drafting.
Yeah.
You need to let it go. Because you're never gonna be happy with that draft. There's no such thing as a final draft.
Yep. It really isn't. Like. Ever. I've had those right before I send something off to get made where there's like 5 different versions of something that are just different colors, and then like one line is like thicker in one and it's like a point size, and I'll send it to my friends and be like, which one do you guys like better? And they're like, dude, like they're like, I can't even tell the difference between like the 20 things you just sent me, except for maybe the colors. So they're like, I don't know. And then they all say something different because it's subjective. So at the end of the day, it's like, no matter what, everybody's going to have their subjective take on it.
Yeah.
I've been at shows where people will pick up something and be like, oh, I wish this was a patch. Or like, oh, I kind of wish this was a different color. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, you're always going to have what they don't. You're not going to have what they want. That's pretty much a given in any given show.
Yeah.
Like, oh, do you have this color? Do you have this and that color? Do you have this? You should make this. And, it's like, all right,
Yeah.
As you said before, it all costs money. So.
And I've been in that trap before. I think that's honestly, that's probably the best advice for a newcomer. There's no final. You just gotta let something sail sometimes and see what happens. Because you're always gonna just want to come back and like fix it again. And I've done that. I've done that where I've sold a set of pins, and then in the next round, my Space Jam pin, I'm actually almost through them all, and I've always kind of been like, oh, I wish I sort of did a different color, and I'll do that the next round, and that's it. Like there will be a ton of them out there that are like that one color, and cool if you have it. Like I still love that one, but now the next round of them are just going to be a different color. And like, I'm just happy I get to like do that, just try out something different.
That's also a way to, keep the stuff fresh, keep it moving forward. Because it's not a major change, but it's enough of a change for people to go, I want that. Because like you said, they wanted the other color before. Yeah. There it is.
Yeah. And then those colors are now like limited in a sense. Like the people who have those colors are like, oh.
As a collector, my ear is like, limited? What?
Yeah, limited. I know. That word. Everything.
That's how you sell it too. I don't make any more of these anymore.
Yeah. So you got to grab this color while it's still there.
I only have like 15 of these.
Yeah. People love it. I have a design like that does really well, and I've forever, like since I'm almost out of it, I have like 2 left. It's my Bone Daddy pin, and I love it, but I've always just wanted to redraw it, and it's just one of those things where I'm like, I have to wait until this sells. Like, I want this because people still enjoy it, and it's not that it's bad and this is that like endless draft thing. It's just, I know I want to tackle it differently, and I'm excited to do that. And it's cool to have that space to be like, you know what, I can just do that. Like, people love the earlier version of it, and there's nothing wrong with that. And now I get to kind of do like a 2.0.
I get you. You know, and it's just it's an amazing process. Like we're looking at Russ's Shattermare project over here, and I gotta say, Russ, I'm always amazed that you're able to like get somebody to come in, tell you what they want, commission pins in that direction. That just like I think I feel like a step up on the whole pin thing.
What? I'm sorry, I was like coughing as you were talking, so I kind of missed half of that.
Well, and I'm just saying that like I'm always amazed that you're able to commission, have people come and go, you know, I want to see you as a pin, and then they go, can you make it for me?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely, yeah. It's like I think doing it for a couple of years now, it's kind of if someone did that, asked me like 2 years ago, I would have been like, right. But yeah, now I feel like I've been doing it. I can kind of throw them together.
I can see why though, because this is a lot of work. This is a lot of your time to get into, especially if somebody decides, well, I don't like it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's the trick, I guess, is you got to get them to like it.
But I love your little pins. You know, they're so unique, and it's totally your style of art. So
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to actually see these. I actually was speaking with them early today, so they have the files submitted and ready for ordering.
Ooh. Well, I gotta say, I've been wanting you to do a Dungeons and Dragons type of a pin. You know, we've talked about it before, and here they are. It's a little more. I want it to be a little more fighter, druid, barbarian type of thing. But hey, I'll take what I can get.
Yeah, like I said, this was the start. I definitely like that idea. So we'll see. We'll see how I can progress with those.
Sounds like Rafa's about to put in an order.
Yeah, it sounds like.
Dude, as a DM, you're always looking for gifts for the people around your table, and being able to do like a fighter or a druid, or because everybody wants to have their character or something that reflects their character, as part of whatever they're doing, and this would be a great little gift for DMs everywhere.
Maybe I'll get on it if you help spread the word. You got to promise me that.
Oh, you know me. Well, especially when you're doing your game of tunes and the fighting and all that, we spread the word all over the place, and we get involved in it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I love it.
So Jabs, what Russ does is he has this fight. He does these pins. Some of them, he'll draw them up, and then he'll put them all together to fight each other. And whoever wins, he makes the pin of.
That's amazing. So the fighting is like people voting for them.
Exactly.
Okay. Very cool. I love that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's just it's a lot of work to set up. So
a lot of work.
Dude,
it's a lot of work just to do what we do when we're going back and forth trying to make one of them win.
Yeah, but
I respect that. It's a great like social engagement like move that you're doing. I'm losing my words. Sorry, but yeah, that's awesome. I think there's a big component of everything that we're talking about that we're now getting into by talking about this, which is like, how do you keep your audience engaged and interested? And like, they say, I don't even know the amount these days, but it's like, oh, post this much per week or do some big like activity thing socially that's like engaging at these times. And that stuff can get really stressful, and it takes a lot of that, and it's obviously like people love it, and like what an engaging way to get people involved in your brand, because that's the hardest part, I think, with all of this, is the trying to beat the algorithm.
Oh, definitely.
I don't think there is beating it. I think we were just talking right before, just how it's just like I've kind of taken a step back, just not posting as much, just because it's so much work, and it's just like, you gotta post this many posts and this many reels and this.
Oh my God,
this.
Yeah.
No, like I want to do this for fun. People are, if they're interested, they're following me and they get involved and they like it. So,
it is very daunting, and it causes a lot of weird like anxiety that's so odd. It's like, why are we putting this on ourselves? But
yeah.
I agree with you guys, because especially as a bit in Apple, we they're constantly going, well, Ralph, if you want the show to grow, you need to do this much stuff and that much. And I'm like, look, dude, I'm gonna post what I'm gonna post.
Yeah,
Sometimes I post more, sometimes I post less. It's gonna be what it is.
yeah. Yep.
I'm already doing a lot of work behind the scenes just to get to the conventions, just to get to talk to the people. There's a lot of stuff happening already over there. I don't think I need to add any of the other stuff.
Yeah, it's true. It's a lot, and I'm not sure where everybody else is at, but GltchBtch for me isn't full time, so it is to like, it's a lot. Even when it is your full time, like it's a lot. There's so many, all the platforms, all the like staying on top of the trends. And I work full time as a designer at a full service ad and creative agency. And, we're often talking to clients about like do this on TikTok and Twitter, and this is what's trending. And it's super exhausting, even just telling them like, and the quickness of it. It's like, you have to have a full team. Even when we were doing it for them, it was exhausting.
Yeah, and you're right. You need to have a full team. There needs to be more than one person trying to handle all that stuff, because after a while, you start to lose your mind.
Yeah, that's why people hire people to do it.
I can see why. I just do this, to get things out there, to support other people, and just doing that. It's a full-time job, and it's worse when it's not your full-time job, but at the same time, it's bad when it is your full-time job.
Yeah, you can really get in your head about it. I appreciate the people out there who like, they appreciate when you put stuff out, and like that's cool. Nobody's like pushing your pace,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because again, you've said it before, and we've all said it here. We say it here all the time. It's better to raise when you raise each other up. It's easier to rise if you're raising each other up, because you can lean on each other to come up. Because when you're by yourself, that's a nice uphill battle.
Yeah, definitely. I for sure have learned when to say no and when to just like not, which is hard. It's a hard lesson to learn.
Because there's a difference. There's a difference between understanding who's helping you, who's not helping you, who's supporting you, who's not supporting you. It's not something you learn instantly. It's something you learn after you do a couple of things, and then you learn it, and that's what the problem is.
Yeah, even saying no to yourself. Like sometimes I have to literally just like sit myself down and be like, stop it. Just relax.
There's no way you're gonna be able to do those 10 shows in a row.
Yeah.
And write the book and do the.
It's wild. The shows are wild. Like whenever I hear people who have a certain amount a year they go to, and I hear that number, I'm like, that is wild. Good for you.
I was just talking to one of our friends at Garden State Comic Fest, and they're planning to do 40 shows this year. And I was like, woo!
Dang.
I was like, that's a lot of shows, and that's tiring.
Yeah.
And anybody like, and I know there's a lot of people out there that do all they do all year is the shows, because that it's their full-time job. But just with the amount of shows we do, and we don't do a lot of shows, it's so tiring, especially once you start going beyond. If we go to a show one day, it's already tiring. If you go to a show 2 days, it's extra tiring. Like when New York Comic Con comes and we do the 4 days, by the fifth day, everybody's like, just kill me.
Oh man, that's when all the cosplay is just melting off their body. Like, I haven't left, I haven't slept. Yeah. I've never done that much, actually. I've never done as big of a show as that. My biggest has been the ones I've mentioned earlier, and have just been like 2 days. So I can't even imagine 4 days.
Which is funny. I was about to ask Russ, you've done 3 or 4 days, right?
No, I think only 2. I think only 2 days.
Oh, okay. So you've kept it. Okay.
I know, so LI Retro is a big one that I do, and I know they expanded to 3 days, but I think last year they didn't have vendors they didn't have the vendors in that Friday.
Okay.
Vendors were only Saturday, Sunday, so you could go set up or something. But yeah, so it was technically 3 days, but I had no option to do 3 days.
All right, because I've seen you after the second day, and you're like, ah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh man.
And of course, that's what's doing your full-time job, and then doing the weekend. How do you feel on Monday when you got to go back to work? Both of you. How do you feel on Monday when you got to go back to work?
I take the Mondays off.
Okay, all right, that's the way to do it.
That's when you know you're talking to a veteran who's like, I don't even mess around with Mondays.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, it is exhausting. It's fun though. Like it's interesting because I've done shows that have been like dead. It's either like a new show and they just didn't advertise correctly, and like that's even worse because it's less exhausting in a sense, but then you're just so bored and then you're sad because you like didn't make enough or like whatever it is. But there is something, it's exhausting, but it is very fun. It is like, it does feel like you're working, but like when you have these great conversations, it is like, you feel like enriched kind of. It feels like you almost went to camp for the weekend, like kind of. Yeah, but yeah, like by Monday, I'm definitely so tired, and I, sometimes I've had it where I don't do this anymore because I've learned and I'm growing older and wiser. But I've done it where I've sold and then gone and like DJ'd at night, and that was the worst. Yeah,
dude, I was the MC for a DJ, and I have to say, that's a lot of work as it is. Just the MC aspect of it was a lot of work. I don't want to be the DJ.
Yeah, never will I ever do I think the closest thing I've done recently was like a 1-day show, and then I DJ'd like the next day.
Ooh.
Which was also just like no. And then I went to work on Monday. Absolutely not. At this point though, the closest I get to that now is I'll have like, if I have a market or a convention or whatever, and then the next weekend I'll DJ, which I also don't like. But sometimes you can't help the dates. But I've definitely learned to say no to same weekend stuff. And I think during the week stuff is tough too, especially when you work full time. Like Russ, I don't know if you do this, or maybe you did do this. I don't know if you do it anymore, but like, have you done shows during the week, like after work?
No, I might have done a Friday night thing, but so that's kind of a little different.
Yeah.
Like you can sleep in the next day, but yeah, that's probably the extent of it though.
Yeah. I've done a couple smaller ones during the week, which I don't do anymore. And that was like, I would go to work with all my stuff and then go from work to.
Yeah,
that must be interesting. It works like what's all this?
Yeah. I've done the same with my DJ bag too. I'll like show up with like my big backpack. Luckily, I do have a car, so like for the most part, sometimes I at the very beginning I'd like Subway when I didn't have a lot of stuff. Again, this was like when I didn't have like all this. Like now I have like 2 suitcases and like a sling that has my thing in it, and there's like a bunch of components, but this was earlier on when it wasn't as much gear.
I gotta admit, like I know some people hold conventions or little here shops or pop-ups or whatever you call them during the week, and I always look at them going, that's interesting, and when you do go to them, it's tiring for me, just in the middle of the week to jump into something like that. I don't even want to know what it is for you guys. Because we work behind the scenes, and when you're setting up the tables and when you're working the tables, it's a whole different experience. As you said, it's work, but it's fun at the same time. But it's draining.
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody that's ever worked retail, like it's pretty similar. I mean, it is what it is. Like we're essentially like sales associates that own the business. Like. Like we work the register, we stock the shelves, we happen to own the business as well. Like, so it's a very compact version of that. And we also happen to be like building the store every time and then taking down the store every time.
Yeah.
So, it's tiring. It's for sure. I mean, Russ, I'll let you speak to it too.
Yeah, no, that's like a perfect description with the retail, because I've done that for years, and it's pretty much how it is. And I think that's like I think probably the setup and breakdown is it's one of the more like the setup in particular, because I'm always like, oh, am I gonna get set up in time? And I get a little drained. But then, once you start getting going, it's fun. I personally, and I think it's just being in retail, like when I have people like come to the table, I like to stand and interact and talk. Like I don't like to be sitting there or drawing in my sketchbook. I know some people do that. I have nothing against it. It's just me personally. I'm more comfortable like standing up when someone's talking face to face.
Yeah.
So at that point, I'm like I'm up and down and up and down, and it gets you don't think it's a lot, but after 2 days, it gets a little tiring.
It does.
And oh, sorry, go.
I was going to say that's how the idea for the show came to be, was because during the pandemic we weren't going out there anymore, and I had a lot of friends and artists going, I have all this material, especially because I'm making more, and I don't got nowhere to sell it. And I'm like, well, why don't you come on? We'll discuss your stuff. We'll put it out there, and people can check it out like this. Because the whole idea was we're gonna give you that experience of talking across the table. Because it's an amazing conversation. I know you guys know what I'm talking about. You have these conversations when you're talking about across the table, where it's an amazing geek out. It's an amazing way to just like get to know people, get your stuff out there, it's a different experience that you don't have anywhere else. And I feel like both of you were saying it's this amazing energy filled thing that happens every time you're at the convention, because you're actually talking to people in a way that you wouldn't be able to any other time.
Yeah.
100%. What were you gonna say, Jobs?
Oh yeah, I mean, I kind of piggybacking that. I think it's interesting, Russ, earlier that you were saying that you like to stand, because going into what you were saying, Ralph, it is amazing having those conversations. And obviously if you're sitting down and like doing something else, like people don't really feel, either they don't feel like they can talk to you or like whatever it is. I go back and forth just because I know some people don't want to talk to me. And I wonder, Russ, how you handle this. I always kind of gauge it. Like I'll kind of be like, sup, how's it going? Like enjoying the show, like something, like I'll kind of say something and then I'll see how they react, and then if I can tell, like if they don't want to talk, they just want to look and shop. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be back here. Like, and then I'll just like busy myself. Like I'll like pretend I'm doing something, or I'll actually be doing something. But yes, being like standing up and like kind of opening yourself up to have those conversations, it is really nice. I go back and forth. I had my fiance help out with a show one year, and she sold for me. It was so funny because at that time she ended up selling the best ever that I'd done. Like she told me how much she made, and I was like, whoa, that's the best. I haven't sold that much yet. I was like, what did you do? She's like, I didn't talk to anybody. And I was just like, what? She's like, yeah, I just didn't talk. Just I let them shop. I don't know. And I was like, cool. But like those conversations also really nice. But she was like, yeah, like, you just let them be and let them. And then she's also like gorgeous, and I think they were like, I'm interested in you, and I'm gonna buy something, and that works too. So I was definitely like, I'm gonna need you to come out to more shows and just sit there and not talk to people.
Yeah.
I talk too much is where I'm getting at. I mean, I love it. I think it's fun, but I'm like TLDR is basically like my memoir.
I gotta say, for someone who's met you in a couple of shows, I don't think you talk too much.
Thank you. Thank you. I know
I enjoy those conversations.
Disagree, but I appreciate that. I mean, we love talking. We're talkers, like for us, we're like, yeah, like let's go.
Oh, dude, and those in-depth conversations that happen, or the artistic ones, or because you really you get into those moments where you start to like talk to each other, and you go, hey, wait a minute, well, what about this and what about that, and you start getting creative, and the juices start to flow. All of a sudden both of you have an idea, or sometimes you both work together on an idea. And I know that's what happened with to Russ and I. So
yeah.
And right now we're working on it, and we actually entered this 10-page script thing that Phil Russert is holding to see what's going to happen with it. But it also was a springboard to get off my butt almost said the other one. It's get me off my butt so that I can like so Russ and I can like start moving the project forward. So even if we win, if we don't win, I'm just happy the project's moving forward.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And I've already dropped the other one, so I didn't. I, however, have been very good about not dropping an F-bomb, but I figured since my name is my name, I was able to do certain words.
Oh, the joke is that I'm going to curse at one point or another.
Yeah, and you've been very good. I thought that since I kind of opened a little bit of the door.
Oh, yeah, that's what usually happens. My brain hears it and goes, go!
Yes, we're good to go. Let's do this. That's so exciting, though. I'm excited to learn more about your all's project. Will you be sharing with here or at some point?
Most definitely, yeah. We're planning a show to like showcase the stuff soon, but you still got to fix all that behind the scenes stuff.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Get there, yeah. I'm excited to show because we've been sitting on a couple of those things for a while.
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to show them off.
It's always great when something finally comes out and you go, I can talk about this now.
Yeah. It's very easy to put a bullet list and like a note of all the things you want to do, and then actually crossing off that. Like I have so many lists of like just ideas, and I'll just write it down real quick, and sometimes I never go back to it, or I'll be like, what? Like I'll write something down really quickly and it'll be like 2 words and I'm like, I'll know what this means later, and then I'll don't know what it means.
I do that all the time. I'm like, I'll know the story idea just by this, and I'll sit there going, I don't know what the hell I was talking about.
No idea. I don't know. Sometimes I'll write it down completely sober. I was just being quick about it, and I'm still like, I don't know.
Yeah, I tend to, while I'm at work, I'll have like my Post-it pen and I'll just doodle something. And like I'll have a little idea, just draw a little character, and I take a picture of it. And I look at it like 2 weeks later, I'm like, what? I don't even know what I was going for.
What was Yep. Happens to us all.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
It's fun to see some of them come to life.
Yeah.
Oh, that's always a blast. It's always, you both know this. Once you guys get an idea, then you bring it to fruition. It's just that moment where you're like, look at what I did.
Yeah. Yes.
And I can tell that both of you are like planning these ideas with your pins, and I'm looking forward to it. I want to see what you guys can do. I feel like pins don't get to stretch their boundaries too much.
I guess it depends. It depends on like I think with the one I'm trying to do, it's very costly because it's technically 4 pins in one, but they're just layered, like because it's like it's this booby trap one I'm coming up with. It's like because it's got the hinge. Those are 2, and then there's a centerpiece, and then the chained piece. So I think a lot of the time it's like these things cost a lot of money, and people like do Kickstarters, people do or people just have the money, or whatever it is. Like I think it does take a lot of and again, when you're starting, like it's always great to just have the simple, am I just doing hard enamel or soft enamel? And like, that's it, and I've started to move into the territory of like, what are these other things that we can do? Like I've drilled holes in them. I've even had them like screen print on my pins. Like I've had them do I've designed like a pin where it has like a halftone effect. Right. It's super small and like almost unnoticeable, but it's a cool way to be like, oh, I can get a different texture in there. And I've seen it done in a sense. And then, we've definitely all seen like pins that are like huge that I'm like, whoa. And they've got chains and glitter and like all this stuff. So I think it's just like, it's cool to see people take the medium and just push it as far as it can go. Like, what's like, I feel like somebody could make a pin one day that's like 8 inches big. That's just like a bunch of latches that have all these like little hidden nooks. You know what I mean? And it's like, honestly, if you just think about it and have the money, like I think Russ, you said this earlier. It's like anything you think of, like honestly, can become a pin.
Yeah. You just gotta create it.
Yeah.
And that's you're right. That's what the problem is: the fact that you have to find the money somewhere in order to do all these great things. And I think that's why pins kind of get stifled a little bit. But at the same time, there are people out there pushing it and trying to do things that aren't done. I know that one of the pins I bought recently, I think it was at Anime NYC 2021. It's huge. It's a phoenix, and I put it on my hat.
Yeah.
And I love it, but for a long time I was like, I would see these huge pins go, I don't know what to do with that thing.
Yeah. It's a commitment. It's a big commitment,
Mm-hmm.
And then, but you can move it too if you're like, I'm over it being on this hat. Then it just
you can put it over here. You can,
yeah.
it's really interesting to like see the bigger pins. But again, it's one of those moments where you're gonna love it and then buy it, or you're gonna be looking at it going, yeah, I'm not getting that.
Yeah. And sometimes people just like to add them to their big boards and just have this like crazy collection.
Mhm.
And that's it. And that's cool too. I think that's what's interesting about the space is there's so many interesting ways. Like even those backpacks and bags now that have the like clear plastic, I forget what they're called.
So you can look inside,
Yeah, like those weren't a thing until somewhat recently. Like those are kind of new-ish. Like given the space, and I think you talked about Disney earlier. Like I think Disney definitely spiked the interest more mainstream with people with the lanyards and like collecting and just kind of showing it off. And then it started becoming like, oh, like fashionably, like how would you wear these? And there's so many different spaces for it that exist that are very interesting.
And it looks like pins have a great future. They're so tempting. They're so collectible. They're so much fun.
It's a badge. It's fun. It's I think even back in like earlier, before I even knew about pins, like I always wanted to collect all the like gym badges in Pokemon. Like it was digital, but it was the same concept. It was this, you wanted to collect something and like wear it in a sense, and then they started like actually making them. And there's just this idea of like, I think that we've had ingrained in us, even like there's that kind of like sense where it's either it means something like literally like in a military sense that like it could mean something really awesome, and to us it's like it is sort of this like we're either repping like a pop culture thing or like something that was meaningful, like maybe it was like a super limited thing you and your friends did. Like I've seen pins for like bridal parties, like there's so many different areas in which they've always symbolized something, and it just kind of shows your support or that you've earned something. And I just think they like have like really an interesting, deeper meaning, like when you really go into it. And that's kind of fun.
Yep.
It's just an amazing whole thing, and like I said, you guys have a future. You guys have somewhere to go with it. Pins are one of those collectible things that I feel like even if they wane, they don't disappear.
Mm-hmm. I feel like they're definitely like picking up like popularity. Like it just kind of it's just increasing and increasing. Like just hitting all the different shows. I mean, the patches and pins, obviously, that's the crowd, and it's huge. But like even going to like the comic shows or the gaming shows, like a lot of people are collecting these things, So, and it seems like just getting better and better as time goes on.
And it's funny because there's one of the reasons is because people, oh, I like D&D, I want a pin about D&D. Oh, I like Marvel, I want a pin about Marvel. Oh, I like DC, I want a pin, and people are beginning to want pins of what they're interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely,
100%. I think the trading community is also really interesting because people love that as well. I didn't even know they existed in the Disneyland trading community is very deep. And I'm sure you all know, I'm sure people watching know, but I didn't even know it existed. And we went to Disneyland in October. And one of my friends who I didn't even know was interested in pins, honestly, was like, oh, hold up. I got to go to Frontierland and like go to this weird corner, like where this bench is, and like meet this person who shows up with a folder, and, like, a binder of all, and they just lay it out. And I'm like, how is this allowed? Like, how are they? And they're allowed to do it because they're not selling it. They're just trading it. But it blows my mind that you're just like in Disneyland and there's just somebody that like has this crazy collection, has like 4 binders opened up on like a bench, and they're just trading with people. And it's really cool to see that one, surprisingly Disney lets it happen, and it creates this other like layer, and it happens at shows. People love trading, but it's really cool. Like it had the whole community has a ton of layers that I even as somebody who loves them and loves designing them, like I'm still learning about them.
And you're right, the whole community has taken it up, because I know when I first saw trading, I saw it in Disney as well, and then it was a couple of years after I seen the pins in Disney, and pins started to pick up, and they started to be everywhere, and I was like surprised that they were everywhere, because I considered it a mostly Disney thing, and then I would start to see people, oh, I have this. Do you want to trade for that? And I was like, oh, we're doing this out here too.
Yep. So interesting. I love that.
Pins are totally interesting. I've been wanting to do a pin show for a while. I'm happy that both of you guys were on to talk pins and talk about how people can get involved in this, because I know there's a lot of people out there who want to make pins out of their things. I know that one of the fun things to do, like you show Jabs, and of course Russ, you're doing your own creations and making them into pins. That that's what a lot of people want to do. That want to it's another way to get what you are making out there so other people can see it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And speaking of which, how can they find you, Jabs? Where are you going to be next? All the beautiful things, so that people can go and look for you, because I can see we're at that point of the hour where we should be doing this.
Yeah, nice segue. Let me just pull up my calendar and make sure I'm giving the right date for this. So the next thing I will be at is actually at Hot Rabbit's Lust Party. It's their Valentine's stoplight party. Nope. I'm sorry. It's called Infatuation. My associate, aka fiance, is correcting me.
That was great.
The old name. Hot Rabbit NYC, an LGBTQ plus queer party, which happens all over the city. I love them. Again, I've DJ'd for them. I still DJ for them. They when I was first starting out, they gave me that first, just pull up a table and throw your stuff on there. But this is cool. There's going to be other vendors there too. It's mainly this big stoplight party, which if y'all don't know what a stoplight party is, there's going to be wristbands, like the glow bands, and there's green, yellow, red. Red means you're taken. Yellow means, it's complicated. And green means let's go. So I will be there with a couple other
vendors. Life would be so much simpler if we all did.
I know, right? If only. We should all just wear signs, but it's pretty funny actually. It's a great, I love being there and seeing the greens just all go to one corner, and they're just oh, let's go. And it's really funny. It's it's very interesting, almost human experiment. And the reds are all just hanging in the corner, we're good. But yeah, I'll be there. So I highly recommend it, because it's also just a fun party. So that's Saturday, the 11th. Also a cute pre-Valentine's Day thing. I'll be there. And then I believe the next show after that will be, I think it's going to be Brooklyn Comic-Con. That's
right. It's coming up really quick already.
Yeah. And then I'm waiting to see when Patches and Pins, because usually they do a spring show, but I don't think it's up yet.
Yeah, I actually just checked this past weekend, and nothing's
up yet. Usually it's April or May or something.
Yeah.
So TBD on the rest, but that's where I will be.
And where can they find you online?
My handles right here. Like and subscribe. Yes, we are GltchBtch on everything, actually. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I'm gonna get a TikTok soon, I guess. I gotta. And then everything's linked out through there, so you'll find my website. But yeah, and it's we are GltchBtch, no eyes, because somebody already had it, sadly. But yeah.
I thought it was just you were being a nice on the internet, going, "Hey, look, there's no curse."
I'm reeling them in before I just throw all the bitches. No, I would have loved it to be the other way around. But at the time, it was what was available.
It happens. We all know that. We're all trying to. The Bit and Apple is like three different things, but it's the same thing at the same time. On one platform, it's the Bit and Apple TV. On another platform, it's just Bit and Apple TV. On another platform, it's Bit and Apple.
I think that was part of it. It's been so long, I can't fully remember, but I feel like that was also part of the decision, was that like it was available on all these platforms. So I was like, like whatever. Just wanted it to be simple. But yeah.
Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. At least the good thing is if you put Bit and Apple, you'll find Bit and Apple.
There you go. Got that SEO.
So Russ, where are you going to be? What are you doing? Where they can find you? You know all the stuff. You've been here before.
Yeah. All right. So next show, we got this upcoming Saturday. It's the Indie Art Show at the Great South Bay Brewery. So that should be fun. Then after that, I believe is in March. It's March 18th and 19th. It's Long Island Tabletop Expo. So that's
they're doing it again this year. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's growing. It's going to be a yearly thing now. So so that's.
We had a lot of fun last year on that one. I remember.
Yeah, no, I always have a lot of fun there. I'll try and get there. Well, I'll try to get there. I will get there. I will be there every year because I work with the guys, so I kind of feel obligated. No, but I like going there. So, so that'll be my next. Those are my next two shows that are confirmed at the moment. Patches and Pins, still waiting. As I've said before, it's usually in April, I believe. Somewhere. So we'll see, but we'll be there.
Keep an eye open.
Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully, we will all be there.
Yes, and then beyond that, nothing is set in stone yet.
And where can they find you online?
Yep, online. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram's probably the best one. It's at Game of Tunes, which is there, somewhere over here, and or Paw Pins for my animal pins. It's at Paw Pins Pins. That's also on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And if you do TikTok, I am on there as Game of Tunes. But it's there.
Nice.
He shows off his art. He has the progression of his art, which I always love seeing when artists do that because it's a fantastic thing to see it from scratch to the end, and you're like, ooh.
I love that. I love any BTS. I'm such a fan.
Mr. Nathaniel, what do you got to say? Follow Flushmallow. Wait, did she stop you from saying it? So this is your work around it. All right, so since you're doing the workaround, as our friend shows it off over there, I'll pull up Flushmallow here on Instagram, and I'll show off our lovely little Flushmallow because she does amazing work. So you guys got to follow Flushmallow. She's on Instagram and she does beautiful work. Her art is just to die for, especially if you love Pokemon or just animalistic, beautiful cartoony stuff, because she does a fantastic job with it. As I'm showcasing here, just a beautiful work here. And she just finished doing pins, by the way, with our friend Bitsy Tandem. And they were a mixture, as you can see here, of Pokemon and Genshin, right? All right, I'm right. Cool. So, I'm working here for Nat and Flushmallow. You can't say nothing to me. So go check Flushmallow out. She does beautiful work. Look at this art. And, check her out. And she's up to something that's coming soon. So keep an eye out for that. I feel like there's a story that's going to happen later. I think, let's see, anything else I'm supposed to show off here? I do think that there's a couple of Kickstarters that are happening at the moment. Let's see what I got up here. Oh, I got Pocus Hocus up here. So I guess I'll show Pocus Hocus off. Pocus Hocus, great story, a Faustinian type story of someone who has made a deal and now they have to pay. There we have it. Pocus Hocus. Ooh, there goes the numbers up as we're looking at it. They are at 4,141, 144 backers, 18 days to go, which means you guys can still support these guys. And you know what we say here at the Bit and Apple TV? Just because they fund it doesn't mean they have the money they need to get what they're trying to create out there. And when they have more money, they'll put it back into it and make more books and make more stuff for you, the audience, because that's what they do. Believe me, no one is making money off a Kickstarter unless you're really, really rich. Because Kickstarter is a good way to fund things, but it's not a good way to make money.
True.
Again, unless you're one of the bigger companies. And I think I got another one here that Jordan put up. Let's see. Boom, boom. It is. Oh yeah, I like this one. It looks really video gamey. Where is that Kickstarter? There it is. It is still loading, of course. Live TV is amazing. It is Illuminon, 7 Rays of the Sun. And this thing reminds me of a 90s video game, so I really like it. And you guys should go support it. They're doing really well. They're at 10,504. They're funded because they needed 7,507 to fund. They're at 237 backers, 5 days to go. Do yourself a favor, go check this out, especially if you like 90s video games, because this thing reminds me of 90s video games. And I grew up on those things, and I had a lot of fun with those things.
Very cool.
And of course, Phil Russert is still doing Dynamic. I think his Kickstarter is still going. Go check it out. Dynamic is a fun family superhero fair. If you love the old superhero books of the 80s and 90s where it was fun superhero fair, then you're going to love Dynamics. It's about a family who has superpowers and the stuff that happens to them. And it gets really deep into how a family unit works. So go check out the Dynamics from Phil Russert. And I think with that is everything. Anybody else have any final words to say?
I just keep thinking about you as a DM, and I feel like it's a great time.
Which is funny because I'm actually working on a new game to see if we can do one, because I'm got the itch and I haven't been able to do one in a while because nobody can meet in person anymore. And I've been avoiding this because I know this is the future of DMing. I guess we'll see what happens. I keep everybody posted. Whoever wants to play, I'll let you know. I don't know how many people I can get in because usually 5 is usually the best game, but I've done as much as 8. So we'll see.
Love it.
And as Nat is saying, follow Flushmel.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for having me, us, all of this. It's, again, all these spaces that exist for us to just talk and be able to be open about our stuff and ask for help when help is very clearly needed.
Exactly.
I'm very happy to be here, and I'm very happy to be speaking with you again, and you, Russ, and all of us here. And can't wait to see y'all live next.
Yeah.
Live, like IRL live.
Oh, dude, I can't wait for that too because I love the conversations we have. Everybody got a little taste of that here, and those are the geek outs that happen.
Yep. Truth.
And of course, my pal Russ from Game of Tunes. I can't wait to see you this weekend at the Indie Art Show on Saturday at the Great South Bay Brewery.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Dude, a con in a brewery sounds like a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
It is a lot of fun because I've been there a couple times. The only thing is, so I find it very amusing that we've had such a mild January, and the 2 days that are going to be super cold are Friday and Saturday, and they're keeping us in the warehouse part. So I'm not really, I'm looking forward to it, but I'm not at the same time.
Ain't that just the way?
Yeah, it was funny. I was watching the news and I'm like, okay, so we're going to the Indie Art Show this weekend. And he goes, this is going to be the coldest 2 days of the year. And I'm like, son of a...
Yeah, and then it's getting warm right after that. I'm like, oh, come on.
Exactly. That's what makes it funny. Well, folks, I hope you love the show. Jabs and Russ, both of you are always welcome to come on, whether it's as a host or guest host. You're always welcome.
Thank
you know, because you guys know how to geek out, and anybody that can geek out is great, because those are the great conversations.
Yeah.
And people are going, Ralph, how can you say that? We're not all geeks. Everybody geeks out about something. Either it's sports, either it's whatever it is, it's still geeking out. And I know you don't want to believe it, but it is.
It is. Yep, 100%.
And of course, on this show, we don't do what we do on the written writ. We just do this.
I wanna see what your point of view, there's a party to you wanna go. One check with you, what's your point of view? I'm on top of you, don't wanna go, cause I really wanna stay at your house. And I hope this works out, but you know how much you broke me apart. I'm done with you, I'm ignoring you, I don't wanna know.